Hello guys, and welcome to another day with Zimaleta. In today's video we're going to be replacing a fuel filter for a Sprinter that's a 6-cylinder 3.0 diesel 2007 and up model. As you can see, one of my friends here, he's removing the sensor, and this is the way you pry it out of there. Sometimes it's a lot of work. He's been at it for a while. As you can see, there's 4 gaskets that's on it. Go ahead and take yours out, wipe it down, not to get the stuff on your hands, and then make sure you change these gaskets, because if you don't, then of course they're gonna be leaking. So you could use something like a screwdriver to try to pry them out, but they're going to be a little bit slippery because of this diesel stuff on there, so it's just gonna take a little bit of effort to remove them. However, I do recommend for you to save these unless you damage them. You just never know. What if one of your seals breaks and then you're gonna be stuck somewhere without having a spare type of seal? So take them out very nicely and try not to damage them, and just put them to the side. Then maybe take like a little Ziploc type of bag, stick them in there, and throw them in your toolbox. Because next time, if you're gonna realize you have a leaky fuel filter, you might decide to pull the sensor out, and you're gonna be like, oh, one of these rubber seals, they have broken. They're also called gaskets, but I like to use a lot of my own type of names for them. So it's a messy job. Make sure you use something like gloves. We're doing it Russian style here, no gloves, and then you're gonna have to wash your hands for 3 days to try to get the stuff off. But anyways, this guy here that I've met, he's a really nice Russian guy. He's actually from Ukraine, but he speaks very good Russian, and I was trying to help him out and stuff, and I said, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and make a video. That way I could explain you know, how to do this fuel filter on my channel. It's been requested video for a while, because I don't have a 6-cylinder Sprinter. It's quite difficult to try to find somebody that does, and that actually needs this to be done. We all are busy and, you know, doing loads and whatnot, so it's kind of hard to find time to service your vehicle, not to mention actually make videos about how to do it. But anyways, he's getting the 3rd gasket right off, one more left. And as you could see, there's 2 fuel filters at the bottom here. One of them is his old one, and another one is a new one. I've heard it done many different ways, but the way I recommend you guys do it, this is the least amount of steps, is to actually fill your fuel filter, a brand new one, with diesel. And you can use your old diesel. I don't really recommend it from the fuel filter. I mean, if you are replacing it, it must be time for it. I mean, you really don't want to put any contaminants inside of your filter. But if you have some kind of good filter, I think something like a coffee filter would work. Maybe like double up and pour right through. That way you're not going to get any dust in there and whatnot. They should work really well. But anyways, guys, when you're sliding these O-rings back on there, gaskets and seals, I do recommend oil them up a little bit, even if it is diesel. Just, you know, get them wet a little bit, so they're going to stretch good, they're going to slide on good, because if you don't do that and they're going to be dry, when inserting it inside of the fuel filter, it might actually move or get damaged, because it is a tight fit. So it's a lot of effort to try to remove this sensor, or actually stick it in there. So you will see exactly what I'm talking about here. But make sure you put the correct gaskets in the correct place by observing. The 2 bottom ones, they're exactly the same size as the top ones. As you can see, the very top one, it's much bigger than that other one. But there you go. So gotta make sure you use something that's not very sharp, so you don't end up damaging your seal. So anyways, guys, this is going to be kind of like a complete fuel filter change, with all the components that you need to remove in order to get it done, and then all the components you have to reinstall back when you're actually ready to install this fuel filter. There's quite a lot to do on this model, so I do recommend you watch this video if you haven't done it before. This is obviously an after fact because this guy has already removed everything before I started making a video. But obviously reinstalling everything is just a reverse of removing everything. So you know, I will actually explain some of those parts once we're going to be actually installing this, to make it easier, because it does seem like it's a little bit confusing how to change this filter, because a lot of times you know, people, they don't know where it's located, but when they do, they're not really sure how to pull off the, you know, the fuel lines and whatnot, because it is a little bit tricky. So I would like to actually, you know, show you how to do this. So a brand new filter sometimes comes with these little like tabs and stuff. I just bought one recently from O'Reilly. It didn't have any of that stuff for some reason, but it's kind of good that this one does. So that means no dust has got inside. So make sure when you're installing this sensor though, you're going to put it in the correct place. I'm not talking about this little cap that he's getting ready to install over here, right in that little part, but I'm talking about the actual sensor when you're going to be putting it on. And this is the way you guys actually fill it up right here. Have some kind of can with diesel. One of these bottles work great. I believe this is from window washing fluid, so that actually works pretty good. It's got a thicker type of plastic. And make sure you do, guys, use some kind of gloves, because as you could see, this stuff is, it's just nasty. It's gonna get all in your hands, and you're gonna be smelling diesel for days, because that stuff eats right into your skin. But anyways, we're trying to keep things clean here by wiping it down. And this is what I'm talking about. When you're inserting this, make sure the sensor is going to be looking in the right way, and it's going to be aligned correctly. You don't want to install this wrong and jam it in there and then say, hey, did I even install this right? Because the holes are not lining up. But actually, there is no wrong way of installing it, because the holes are not gonna line up, the ones that you actually put the screws in and stuff. So as you could see, you know, he did insert this all the way in there, but it does not want to really go in there. So best to have like a little rubber mallet, or maybe like a rubber type of screwdriver handle, and just tap it in there, because as you could see, guys, it's just really like, it's just loose on there right now. So, and make sure there's gonna be like you're gonna be past all the plastic parts. Nothing's gonna be jamming, because you know, last thing you want to do is force something in and there's really something that's in the way. But you could tell just doing this with your hands, it's quite challenging, and this guy's pretty tough, and he's having a hard time to completely squeeze it in there. So here's my advice that I gave him. I said, you know, like, look, just tap it in very lightly on the handle, and then it's going to get in there quite good. So he's going to try to protect it even more by putting that piece of paper. And now, as you can see, it's right in there. So once you secure it with bolts, it's not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, next time you get ready to pull it out, it's like, good luck, it's going to be stuck again. One thing I do like about these sensors though, on these newer models, it is a little bit more heavy duty. I wish the sensors we had on the 2004 through 6 would be just as strong, because this plastic would be a little bit more difficult to break. It's a little bit more sturdy. The stuff that's in 2006 printers, it's just very brittle, especially that plastic dried out and stuff. At least with this one, there's a little bit of room to try to, you know, wiggle this and get something to hold it on, and, you know, pry it out and stuff without really breaking it. Of course, there's a chance of always messing something up. So it's time to install this, guys. So to install it, you're gonna have to remove the filter box and everything that's in the way. It's going to be next to the turbo. That little pipe that you see right next to it, that's a turbo. And go ahead and try to install your electronics first, because it's going to be a tight fit and you might damage some wiring when you're doing it. And insert your pipes and everything, and then reinstall this unit. I don't recommend actually tightening it up once you actually put it in place, because it's in such a bad location there. you're gonna have a difficult time every time. And this is why this guy pulled it out together with the metal bracket. When I changed it on mine, I actually left the metal bracket in place. The very first time I pulled it out, I got the bolt loose and I never tightened it up. I mean, really, where's it gonna go? Like, it can't really move anywhere. The bracket's gonna hold it in place. On top, there's no room for it to fly out and stuff, and there's really not enough vibrations to really vibrate it out of place. So this fuel line right here at the very top that you see with a little white on there, this is the one that most people are confused about, because they're wondering like how to actually remove that. But it's actually quite simple. You could just hold the tabs and actually spin it, and it spins right out of its place. So we're putting the fuel lines back. Make sure you put the correct ones right back, and not really like mess up on that. Because if you mess them up, then you know it's going to be some trouble. But pretty much it's common sense. As you could see, like these lines, you could see like there's one to the left, one to the right. I mean, they're so short, it's like, how are you gonna like really mess up? So there we go, putting the last fuel line in. Yep, just a little bit of effort to try to insert. There's not a lot of places, you know, like over here, like to really, you know, for your fingers and stuff to try to, you know, move things along. And that's like the only difficult part about it when messing with this fuel filter. But it's not a, you know, really hard job to do. It's fairly easy. Especially if you've done it quite a bit of times, and then you're gonna feel comfortable in doing it. Now you might be wondering how often you have to replace your fuel filter, and I've heard, you know, people say from something as ridiculous as like every oil change, and oil change every 5,000 miles, which is ridiculous. That is way too soon. Now the book recommendation for the oil change on this printer is 20,000 miles, believe it or not. I think that's just way too long. I think it's important to try to change it every 10,000 miles, even though it's got 13.5 quarts. They're gonna say 14 quarts of oil, but if you put 14, there's a possibility of your oil light coming on, oil pressure too high. So put about 13.5, you know, and just kind of like monitor it and stuff, and you know, I think it's gonna be fine. Just make sure you'll have a little extra oil in case you need to add it. But anyways, in this step we are going to go ahead and tighten up the clamps, and you do want to make sure that they're going to be tight to keep them from leaking. I normally use like a socket for this. I think it's like a 7 to 8 millimeter socket. It's a lot easier than trying to do this with a screwdriver. And then use like some kind of like extended type of piece for your like ratchet, and there you go. Even better, I've been using my torque drill for this. It's been working very nicely. So they are about tight, and we are close to installing the center type of fuel line. Just want to double check things, make sure they are as tight as they're supposed to be. This black piece that's stuck in the turbo, that is a resonator. It is a new design. Possibly this resonator does not leak. It's probably pretty good. On the oldest printers, resonator just leaks. It's very common problem. It leaks along the seams. So a little bit more to tighten up here. There's a clamp as well to try to do. This screwdriver, in case you guys are wondering which one this is the one that actually came with your Mercedes. It's actually pretty handy. It's got two different type of sockets, but you could take anything out, like from lights to, you know, like different type of parts and stuff. So there it is. It is definitely on. Now it is time to actually tighten up the actual thing that actually holds it in place, this bracket for the fuel filter. And like I said, I normally don't remove this bracket. On the very first try, you kind of need to remove it because it's very difficult to get to the bolt that actually clamps the fuel filter together. But once you do it the first time, you won't have to really do this step anymore. I'm all about saving time, guys. I mean, you're gonna be under the hood of this thing quite often, more often than you would like to, and it's best to save time any way you can, but not quality, of course. It's just unnecessary to really tighten a fuel filter that tight in there, you know. Just make sure it's just enough for it not to go back to the left and to the right, to be kind of like shaking there, but enough for it to where it could slide out when you pull on it. So just a little bit more here, and there's 3 clamp bolts. I mean 3 bolts that hold down this thing here that holds the fuel filter. Yeah, I keep forgetting the word, like bracket, basically. That's really what it is. So it is time for the center piece of pipe. As you can see, it's a simple, you slide it in there and then you just tighten the plastic little piece right in place, and when it goes in there, it actually spins just fine. It looks like you would break it by twisting it, but you really can't. As you could see, you could just simply slide it over there like that. So that's all you do to install it or to remove it, just like that. And now it's pretty much close to be all the way tight, if not completely tight. So that is good there. So now it's time to actually reinstall the rest of the parts. This part was in the way, just a couple bolts that's actually holding it in place. So if you have removed yours, then you'll need to reinstall it, of course, in its original spot. And that's what we're doing here. I'm actually not really sure what that piece is right now. I would probably find out what it is, but some kind of fuse box maybe, you know, for like with those big fuses, but who knows. I am really not sure what that one is. Well, it is time to install this air box here. This is the mass airflow sensor. If this piece goes out, guys, chances are your vehicle will not be able to start. All it is going to be just moving a lot, and like if you're going to be like turning your engine over, it's going to be like just trying to start but not really start up, and you could just unplug it and start it up like that. And sometimes the symptoms are of that piece going bad, the mass airflow sensor, is you turn the vehicle on and it's just going to cut off again. As simple as that. So make sure you insert all your pipes right back before you test it and tighten everything up. And don't forget your tools if you have anything that's laying, you know, like on the windshield and stuff. So it looks like it's a lot of work with removing this air box, but I mean, really, it's not a big deal. If you remove it a couple times, you really realize this is pretty simple. That's where that oil filter is located, guys, right there, that black cap. So we have a lot of tools while we're working. So just want to make sure everything is attached, and make sure you plug all your sensors in. This is a mass airflow sensor here, and this one is for the air filter box. So it is good now. Just make sure everything's nice and tight, that it's not going to be coming out of there. And on this side, we have to install the positive terminal for your battery. This is a very good location for it, since your battery is underneath your legs here, but that's where you put your positive. So that is it, guys. We are completely done. It is time to start up the vehicle and go wherever you need to go. I hope you guys really like this. Please hit a like if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And please share this video with other owners of the 3.0 6-cylinder sprinters.